Hello people, Angelo here and welcome to my reaction breakdown, the ESBC alpha gameplay features. Mainly because I was just going to do a straight up reaction video, but OBS decided to not record that, so I decided, you know what, let's just do a breakdown for my first video on this game because I've been keeping my eye on it for a while. I haven't really mentioned it on the channel. I felt like, you know what, I like this trailer and I'm going to mention it. I like this idea of this game. I'm going to mention, I'm going to do a video on it. I'm not sure how many videos I'm going to do on it. I'm probably going to do this one video, and maybe if another trailer that catches my eye comes out, I might do a reaction or like a breakdown of it, depending on if OBS works first time around next time. Well, hopefully it does. So anyway, with that said, let's get right into this with the stuff right here, which is pretty much just 4 directional control movement. And it's also slowed down to 0.5 so we can react as stuff goes on. But first we kick off with some basic punches, and I remember some people were going on about the punches and how they looked weird. I'm going to also move this up so you can see the stamina bar and the beats per minute stuff, but pretty much, yes, this is alpha footage, remember, but I remember some people were going on about how the punches looked weird from a 10-second clip that was shown, but that was more in a movement trailer, so they hadn't really made the punches properly yet. But now, like, as they showcase the proper punches, like with the movement, it looks so smooth, it looks so crisp, so fluid. Even slowed down, you can feel the impact. Even with no audio, you can feel and see the impact on the face, where the face slightly flinches at like a direct clean hit, where like it's fully hit into the face. It fully just smashes against Eddie Hall's jaw right there. Beautiful, perfect connection. I've got to say, it's definitely fluid. Like, it's definitely fluid. It's definitely clean. And here we see some jabs with some glancing blows where that hit the shoulder that completely missed. And there we go, a nice counter. And then you see the sort of graze along the chin. It's very much probably going to, I imagine, affect how much it damages if it grazes along, if it doesn't get like a full-on hit. So it's definitely going to be important to time your punches if you're going to be going for stuff like jabs. And then you see some different angles on the body, what is quite interesting. I wonder if that's going to be controllable. So let's say you want to target a particular area. I wonder if like you can control where it like grazes. Like say he's got a cut on the brow, you want to focus on that brow to maybe swell up a bit and try and get a ref stoppage, or maybe to block their vision. I wonder if that's like going to have an effect on it. Like, it will be quite interesting, like if you can control exactly where you're aiming, or maybe like control the slight angle of the punch. But of course, we don't know enough about that yet, so instead we're going to talk about what's shown on the screen, what is the feints now. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really have an opinion on feints. They look pretty cool. I'm going to say, like, the fact that you can feint and strike from the same side and it looks pretty fluid is pretty cool, but I don't really have an opinion on the feint because it's just if it's like most other feint systems are pretty easy in my opinion to like get done well if you know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, I want to make that clear, because there are some people who don't know what they're doing with feint systems. I'm on about EA, in case you didn't realize, like, sometimes their feint systems really until much later on were absolute abominations. It took them like 3 games, 4 games to get a decent feint system, where it seems these guys have come out first go and has given us a smashing feint system that really has nothing to say about it, because it speaks for itself. Like you can see right here, it speaks for itself. I don't need to say anything about the feints, because you can look at the gameplay that's shown even in slow motion and you can see these flawless feints. Like, so that's what pretty much means I have nothing to say about, because there's no complaints. It's exactly what you expect from a feint system. It's nothing revolutionary, but it's the early version. It's the alpha gameplay state. So for all we know, it may come out even better as time goes on, and where we'll have something truly to say about it, because it'll be something even more outstanding than its first go around is right there. But now we move on to foot movement, and you can see, like, it's not fully shown on the screen, but if you look down there, you can see the feet. They're very much completely constantly in movement, because I remember the guy, when he was talking, he said he didn't want none of that skidding stuff. He didn't want like looping animations. He wanted it to be like free mocap. So he actually got the fighters to come in. They got the fighters to come in, and like this, you can see better feet right here with this further camera angle outwards. But yeah, they got the fighters to come in and do their own movement, and so you can see that head bobbing that a fighter naturally would do. You can see that shuffling of the feet. At some point, you're going to see a stance switch where he switches back from orthodox to southpaw to orthodox. And like even that little thing is such an like arm lift thing. It's like and the snapping like with the steps. It's like all this slight detail. It's like stuff that you really have to appreciate, like the shifting the weight downwards, the movement of the head, like the movement with the stance where he's got a more open stance. And mentioning something they said about stances, I believe like that's definitely gonna have an effect further on like your block and stuff, because they did mention that like with the Philly shell where like the arms naturally by the body and so it'll block some punches that go in that direction. So if you're punching directly into the guard, like it won't guarantee a shot because the arm may be there that's naturally defending it, but occasionally like a shot will get through, whereas what it looks like. Of course, you'll see that gameplay a bit later. In addition, the last thing I wanted to mention about the movement itself was the fact there was some side shuffling. Like right there, you see it for a second where he's not really in a stance for a sec. No, it's after this, where he's not really in a stance and he's just shuffling to the side. Here we go. Yeah, not really in a stance. He's more like in an in-between state where he's just shuffling to the side, back and forward, with a pretty cool thing before moving back into orthodox. That's very much a cool thing. I'm hoping like they have the sort of Mike Tyson stance in the game where you're not really in orthodox or southpaw fully. You're more just able to like stay in sort of an in-between thing where you sort of got that peekaboo-like stance that he was famously known for. And I'm hoping like I haven't seen anything because I want to pause this quickly because I want to mention this. Actually counters are coming up, so I'll mention this first and then talk about it. But yes, there is the adrenaline system, and when it reaches 150, because I looked at this a few times, and it's always when it hits 150, you have like a special gate or stage activate where like you pretty much have this boost in stamina, but it drains your stamina a lot quicker, like it permanently chops it down. So you see this permanent loss of stamina, but your stamina also regenerates quicker, so you can be throwing a lot of punches for a short period of time. So sort of like where Mike Tyson would come in with that killer intent and he would just start firing these few rapid punches that would take out his opponent. I imagine that's what this is going to be, but if you throw it recklessly, it's very likely it's going to cost you in the fight. It's going to drain you very quickly, and by the fifth round, like Mike Tyson was, you're going to be dropped by something because you have no stamina, you're gassed, and you're winded. So that's very much an interesting thing to take into consideration anyway. Let's move to the counters because I did want to mention this. As you know, there's also this little bit of extra gameplay where you can see the fluid combos and like with the movement stuff. So that's also a pretty cool thing. I'm wondering if this, yeah, like you can see it's another showcase of the adrenaline system. Like it's showing the adrenaline for a second, but then it cut out. I'm not sure why it cut out. That was a bit weird. Maybe there's a way to cancel it. I don't know. Or maybe it was the end of the adrenaline rush. But here we go. This is what I want to talk about, like the counter punches where you see a flip back and there's this weird bob of the head, like in really slow motion. I'm going to show it one more time just so you can see it, where I'm going to turn it down to 25%. This is my only complaint about the entire trailer, because it is something that's extremely noticeable due to like, we also saw a bit of body movement right there, which was pretty cool. So I'm guessing there is going to be a bit more fluid movement and not just locked into certain counters. But there was one thing I did notice where he slipped back. There's this weird stretch of the neck. I'm sure you saw it there. Like I really had to slow it down to notice because I was trying to see any small details that I may have missed. Like I noticed the step back a lot easier when it will slow down. But there's this weird stretch of the neck, and I'm sure they're going to fix that. I hope they'll fix it because they seem really listening to their community. So I hope they go in and fix that neck stretch, because it does sort of, even if it's not as noticeable when in full speed, I'm sure there's going to be some people who notice something's not quite right there. And so even if it's just such a small detail, like if they slightly fix that, that will be a pretty cool thing. Because I'm sure while it's not as noticeable, it's definitely going to be noticed by a few people, and a few people are going to get annoyed at that if it starts happening more often. So I would just say be careful and check to make sure it's not happening too many times, because it is kind of weird. It kind of takes you out of the moment. But there you see that beautiful duck under counter in a more positive note where it's a lot more cleaner. So it's likely just a slight bug in the animation. And there's that beautiful shot to the body. So it seems you will be able to dodge and hit the body. But as I was saying before, I wanted to point out that slight little stretch to the neck. I'm hoping they have stuff like being able to just naturally move in like a infinite 8 rotation where you're like doing a Dempsey roll to get in closer. I'm hoping that is a thing because they have Jack Dempsey in the game. So you'd imagine they would have that kind of movement system, even if it's locked to a particular stance. And like, because if you're like playing that, or you want to make like Mike Tyson or something in a game, like not having the ability to Dempsey roll would be very, very weird. It would definitely take away, because Jack Dempsey was known to get a lot of his power from doing a Dempsey roll dodge sort of like movement where he'll do the infinite 8 and then he'll do a bunch of hooks at the end or a bunch of strikes at the end. And so that's not in the game. It's going to be kind of weird. So that's just the kind of thing I want to mention. And so I'm hoping that is in the game. Maybe they'll show it at some point if it is, because we've seen a gazelle punch like in a previous thing. I don't have the footage right up now, or I would show it, but they had a gazelle punch with Joe Frazier where he did like a lead hand one where he ducked down and then lunged up to hook him. So that's the kind of thing that's pretty much guaranteed in the game. So I can imagine they're very likely, if they're doing having that attention to detail, they're probably going to have the ability to move your body in a similar way. But I just wanted to point that out as hopefully something they include. But anyway, let's skip over this for a second so we can go down and show you the actual stuff I was on about with like the unique stance guarding certain parts of the body, because this was a thing I wanted to mention. As you can see, like the arms naturally blocking it gets a bit bruised up, and then eventually like it breaks the guard after the third punch here with Joe Frazier, like right there. You can see like it breaks the guard eventually, and then there's that natural stance, like head slip to the side, what seems to be the normal stuff. But that's really it from like the gameplay factor. But this is more career mode stuff now. If there isn't much, it's like a few sheets showing you sort of like the cost of people, like how much they're signed for, like the breaking contract cost, the percent taken from fights, so pretty much the initial cost, and then how much you need to keep them. And then there's like cut recovery, swelling reduction, head damage, and body damage, which is how much he's probably going to help you, so you'll heal it by 10% each round. And like then on the more faded side, it shows how much it's better or worse. So it's like at the bottom two are like 5% better, while the top two are 5% worse. So you're probably going to be managing that, making sure like you have the what you need as a fighter to match your particular style. And then we have the promoter with similar stats where it's like negotiation skills, financial benefit rankings, and social. It's kind of obvious what they do. Pretty much it's the likelihood you're going to get what you want from a negotiation, the financial benefit you're going to get from like a fight, and the rankings, probably how fast you're going to climb the ladder. And then social is like how the crowd will perceive you, and this guy's going to be helping you with all that. He's going to be giving you bonuses to all that to help you climb the rankings likely quicker. So you're going to be trying to find a promoter who gives you the most benefit in the way you want. So maybe you want to make it a bit slower, so maybe you pick someone with lower rankings but maybe higher everything else, so you can get the money and work your way up to be like a super beast before you start marching your way up the rankings. Or maybe you want to get to the top of the rankings super quick and sort of have this youngest fighter ever to win the title type story. It seems like it's going to be up to you how you want to take your path through career mode. What I very much like, because I don't like systems where they force you to immediately rush out like the lower divisions into the title picture. So it seems like you're going to be able to take your own pacing. And then there's like this tier system where I've seen goes up to 10. So it's likely this is a tier 5 guy, but you can get like better ones as the career goes on. And then the final two tidbits, of course, is the negotiation itself, where like you can decide you can say you want this amount of the purse, you want to pay this amount for the promotion, you want it at this location, you want to train for this many weeks. There will be injury insurance, rematch clause, the weight limit for the fight, so it looks like you're going to be cutting and gaining weight to fit in the limits of the fight. Then there's like the promotion, as I mentioned, how much you're going to pay into the promotion out of like the actual required amount of money. Then there's the actual costs of like the rematch clause, the staff costs, the injury insurance, and then the potential winnings, how much you're going to actually win from a fight. So whether you're going to win 20k, 10k, and then the social gain you're going to have, so the guarantee and the potential. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the negotiation percent, like how likely he is to get the negotiation to work. With the final bit here, it's more, I imagine this is just a fighter breakdown, so it's like his health is this, he's got this, habits. So your coach is commenting, oh, he does this, be careful for this. So maybe, oh, he has a strong right hand, might be available with a better coach. Be careful for when he throws the right hand, or he's got a slow right hand or something with a lot of power. Make sure to use that as an opening. It might be just small comments like that was definitely going to create another bit of strategy if it's got really good AI. Of course, we haven't seen any of the AI yet, but I'm hoping it's some good AI so we can actually have a proper advantage taken with like these advice given to us. Anyway, that's really all I got to say here. Because really, I couldn't break anything else down without just going into a long-winded conversation. But I'll say overall, the trailer was pretty smooth. It's pretty clean, pretty neat. There's nothing really to complain about other than that weird elastic neck. What I'm sure, like, if the developers are made aware of it, they're gonna quickly fix anyway. I'm sure of that because it's like I can imagine that was completely unintentional. Like, it was probably like considering like the people in the Discord were pretty much demanding like madly a trailer. I can imagine like maybe it went a bit unaware because they were excited to show what they've done to what they've created to like the crowd, and I'm sure they're gonna fix it very quickly once it gets noticed because it's like with how these people are acting, I'm gonna say they probably have one of the highest respects I can give someone when it comes to a gaming company because they've been very much interactive with their community. They've been very respectful. They've been very like kind and caring. They've been very patient. So I'm gonna say, yeah, I have a good feeling about this game. I have a good belief that it's gonna come out in a very well-formed form by the time it enters beta, because this is still alpha footage, you have to remember. So with that said, please like, comment, subscribe, share all that if you enjoyed the video, and hit the bell notification icon and turn it to max to stay up to date with all future videos, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.